when the Jesuit university murders happened that we've referred to several times in November of 1989, Bishop Gomez was warned. Bishop Gomez had the Lutheran Church there was persecuted during the war. One of the Lutheran pastors was killed by a death squad, and Bishop Gomez himself and I'm forgetting the exact position this co-worker had at the time, but they were returning from an international flight and when they got to the airport were abducted by a death squad, and at least from the bishop's point of view, he only survived that because of, again, international pressure on people, that he was a known and respected and beloved international figure, so a lot of people said, put pressure for him to be released. So he lived, and the church there lived in a lot of danger, and in 1989, with the same action that resulted in the Jesuits being killed, he was warned that they were going to come looking for him as well. And he went into hiding underground and out of the country and came back with international accompaniment and support, including from the ELCA and other Lutheran churches in the world. And a group called the SHARE Foundation, which SHARE was an acronym for Salvadoran Humanitarian Aid, Research, and Education, which was founded by church people, primarily Lutheran and Roman Catholic. Pastor Gus Schultz, longtime pastor at University Lutheran Chapel in Berkeley, was one of the founder and executive director of the organization. His daughter, Locke Schultz-Jaeger, is on the board to this day. And the current pastor of University Lutheran Chapel, Pastor Jeff Johnson, is on the board. So it's an organization that has, and the office of SHARE is now in University Lutheran Chapel building in Berkeley. There's a long Lutheran connection with this organization. And the SHARE Foundation designed an accompaniment program where someone from the United States would go live in a room at Bishop Gomez's house and just go to work with him, go to church with him, go everywhere he went, on the theory that, well, the United States was supporting the Salvadoran government, and as you heard from, I think Seth was saying about that, well, when the 4 North American church women were killed, that got a lot of attention. The idea was, well, if you were with someone from the United States, maybe your life would be safer because of the political fallout if a U.S. person got hurt. It's basically the theory. And people took turns doing it. One amazing woman did it for the first year in the midst of the armed conflict, and many of us took a 1-month turn, and I took a 1-month turn actually a few months after the peace accords were signed in 1992. And out of that grew this connection with the Lutheran Church there, and that delighted to see continue with all these great people who come from the seminary on the trip. So I got there at night, it was in the dark, and the very first day, the first place we went, and as I say, I was there just there to accompany him, so no one was consulting me on where we were going, and my Spanish was weak enough at the time that I mostly didn't understand what people were saying anyway. If they said we're going, I got in the car, we went wherever we were going. But we went the very first day, before we even went to the office that day. He had an office at his church and an office at the Synod office building. We went to this teacher strike, which was downtown. This was not a Lutheran school teacher strike. This was some teacher organization strike because they thought it was for better wages, better working conditions, better schools somehow. And a subset of the striking teachers were doing a hunger strike, about 20 of them, and they were in this large public plaza in the middle of downtown. And Salvador is a very warm country near the equator, so they just had a tent. And they were but they'd been doing this hunger strike for 2.5, 3 weeks, so they were on cots. They were quite weak. And Bishop Gomez was just going down because he's a public church leader, he's a shepherd of people, and so he was just going down to pay a pastoral visit. And when he finished going among the teachers that were there and greeting them, some of the other strike organizers who were not among the hunger strikers, they had set up there was a flatbed truck with a little microphone stand on it so people could speak to public gatherings there, and they invited him to say a few words to the people who were gathered. And when he so he gets up on this truck and he's introduced to the assembled crowd. So, again, I want to emphasize this is not only not a Lutheran church gathering, this is not a explicitly religious or church gathering whatsoever. It's a public teacher strike. He's introduced as the Lutheran bishop, and the crowd starts chanting, "Long live the Lutheran Church. Viva la Iglesia Luterana." And I'm thinking, I was a Lutheran pastor's kid growing up. I've been in the Lutheran Church my whole life. I've ordained Lutheran pastor, now I'm a seminary professor. I was president of my youth group. I did all these different Lutheran Church things. I went to a lot of Lutheran Church events. I had never heard a public group in the United States start calling that when a Lutheran bishop was introduced. Then the next thing, they shifted the chant after a little bit of time from Viva la Iglesia Luterana, long live the Lutheran Church, to Viva la Iglesia Consequente, which I think you'd say in English, long live the church that walks the talk. And that was my introduction to the Lutheran Church in El Salvador, and has stuck with me ever since.